Hello warriors, I hope you've had a fabulous festive season. Today I'm actually talking about how sugar impacts your belly fat. If you have belly fat loss goals, you definitely need to listen to this. Also, on the 1st of January, I'm kicking off a free sugar detox group in my private Facebook community. I would love for you to join us if you'd like to. There's no commitment. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It literally is sharing information on how getting off sugar is going to benefit your life in so many different ways. So today, principally, it's talking about sugar, how it has a negative impact on your menopause symptoms, but specifically around the belly fat problem, because I know a lot of us have struggled with belly fat and it's a continuous battle, particularly after this time of the year when we're all feeling a little bit bloated, we've eaten a little bit more than we meant to or wanted to, and you just get to the stage where you just feel a bit stuffed. And I don't know about you, I'm actually really looking forward to getting back into some healthier habits. So firstly, sugar is one of those things we actually don't really need. Natural sugars are fine. I want you to understand that fruit is a healthy form of natural sugar. So is honey. You don't want to be eating them in huge amounts, but fruit with the fiber, when you eat the fruit itself, the fiber controls that release of sugar into your bloodstream. And fruit is just like jam-packed full of the antioxidants, polyphenols that are really good for our immune system, good for our gut bacteria. You know, if you're getting that urge for something sweet, I highly recommend diving into the fruit bowl. Even dates. I know dates are dried fruits, so technically they're higher in sugar content, but a date or a couple of dates is so much healthier than, you know, the mince pie that you may be already getting a bit tired of, or the Christmas cake, or the cookie jar. Dates are like nature's candy, and they are also high in boron as an essential trace mineral that can be beneficial for us during the menopausal years. So look at fruit as your friend, not your enemy. There's a lot of negative information out there. To be quite honest, whatever I say, you'll find the opposite advice as well out there. There's always going to be this camp and that camp. All I can say to you is I have followed this method for years. I work with thousands of ladies that have followed this method and it works. It's about eating food like a human. So just going back to the sugar thing, the reason we want to avoid the refined sugars and the added sugars is they are inflammatory in the body. They create an acidic environment. Now, our bodies are really clever. You'll hear about the alkaline diet, and it doesn't actually make your body more alkaline. It's just feeding your body foods that are more alkaline in nature. So, you know, the vegetables, the fruits, the healthier foods, which enable your body then to free up energy to do other things. Your body's always going to find that balance. It will strike that very, very fine balance between acidic and alkaline. As we go through our perimenopausal years where our hormones are very erratic, our insulin levels, our fat storing hormone, tends to rise naturally because as estrogen falls, it makes our cortisol levels rise. Cortisol, when cortisol rises, it naturally increases our insulin. Well, a lot of us are insulin resistant, which means that we're already eating too many sugars and we are maybe pre-diabetic. You may have been recently diagnosed as diabetes too. The good thing about that is the fact that you can correct that with lifestyle. And by removing the sugars out of your diet, you're going to be significantly positively impacting your weight, but also your menopausal symptoms. We have 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors around our belly than we do in any other part of the body. So that's largely why belly fat is more of a problem through the menopausal years. It's an evolutionary survival strategy because through periods of lean, your body doesn't want to have to use energy to get like maybe fat out of your finger ends. Our fingers don't really get fat, do they? So one of the theories that why it's kept around the belly, it's a quick and easy energy source for the body to pull from in times of lean. So when we're talking about belly fat, we really want to be focusing on stress reduction. But stress is what we eat and drink as well. So if you're overdoing it on the booze, if you're having more of the sugary drinks, if you're having more of the desserts, you're filling up on the carbs, you know, the potatoes, the carrots, the parsnips, the squashes, yeah, they are healthy carbs. They're not like the refined carbs like the cookies and the cakes and that sort of thing. However, at the end of the day, we do not need that amount of carbs. So just to break it down, you've got your healthy carbs and you've got your not so healthy carbs. Under the healthy carbs umbrella, you've got your fruits, you've got your vegetables, and you've got your more starchy vegetables like your potatoes. Vegetables like your broccoli, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, your courgettes, those sorts of things, they are much higher in water content. Your starchy carbs like your potatoes, your squashes, your yams, they tend to be higher in sugars and they tend to be higher in starches. So you want fewer of those as you go through the day. Ideally, you want healthy carbs for your breakfast. They give you immediate and sustained energy, and you want them for your lunch, but you don't need so many at dinner time. So for instance, when I'm out of the festive period, my meal in the evening consists normally of either fish or meat, or I might roast or mash some vegetables together. And those vegetables are highly likely to be broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, maybe some spinach thrown in. And sometimes I'll either mash them and just put my meat or fish on top with maybe a healthy dressing, or I will roast them. Things like spaghetti, you can use the healthy alternative is spiralize your courgettes or your zucchini, so you make zoodles out of it. Spaghetti squash you can use. It's a bit more difficult to get over here in the UK. I know in the US it's a lot more readily available, but farmers markets sell it here, and literally just bake it and then use a fork to mess it all up, and it creates like these little tiny spaghettis. That's a much healthier way of enjoying the food, but without spiking your blood sugars. You'll also find that if you're eating sugary carbs, so like the cakes, the mince pies, that sort of thing, you will get the immediate energy boost, but then, maybe half an hour to 45 minutes later, you're getting that crash, the energy crash, which is when your blood sugars, they're all awry, and they've gone higher, you've released the insulin, and that's when you get that energy crash. And then a lot of people will then have another cookie and it goes back up again, and you have that roller coaster ride of your blood sugars, which is not good for you. I've recently been building out a menopause tracker, and it allows you to track literally everything that you eat and drink and how that relates to your menopause symptoms. And you will find that if you track what you eat and drink regularly, within seconds or minutes, you're going to notice either an energy surge, an energy crash, you might get a headache. Sugary foods are likely to exacerbate your hot flushes or hot flashes. They're likely to bring on headaches if you struggle with headaches. You might get more of an itchy skin. After that, you're likely to feel more irritable after sugary foods. So really tie in what you're eating and drinking to your menopause symptoms, because it does have a profound impact. Not to mention it makes you fatter around the middle, particularly. Yes, you're going to put weight on everywhere, but you will notice it more specifically around the middle. As we go through the perimenopause too, our digestion does get more sluggish. And so foods that may have passed through faster are probably staying around a bit longer than they used to do, which is causing them to ferment for longer. So while it might not be weight gain that you've got, it could be bloating. And again, when you're eating a wide range of fruits and vegetables and lean, healthy proteins, you're likely to be improving that motility through your digestive system. Also, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. For me personally, I find that sugary foods, they might trigger a headache. They will definitely trigger a hot flush, and they make my joints ache. And it can happen within seconds with the joint pain. So if you can just become a bit of a super sleuth as to what is causing your menopause symptoms, if you suddenly have a headache, just like, what did I just eat or drink? Or, half an hour ago, what did I eat or drink? If you're feeling sluggish after you've eaten something, often it might be because you've had a sandwich, it may have cheese in it, or you may have had like a healthy meal, but you put cheese on top. That can also, not everybody, but it can make you feel quite sluggish and a bit weary. But by tracking what you're eating and drinking, you reveal these patterns. And so you have the choice. If you love a toasted cheese sandwich with tuna or whatever else you put on it, but you know that you're going to feel a bit sluggish afterwards, make sure that your creative sort of workload is done in the morning so that you can feel a little bit sluggish and it doesn't necessarily negatively impact your day. But be mindful of it. I know if I have a cheese toastie, I love cheese toasties. It makes me go, ugh, about half an hour later, probably even 15 minutes later. And if I've got a lot of work to do that afternoon and I need to be switched on, it's a lunch that I will avoid having. Also note that sugar has a detrimental impact to your gut microbiome. So you may have heard me in the past talk about your good gut bacteria and your bad bacteria. Your gut health is just so important for how you show up every single day. It affects your motivation, it affects your happy hormones. Around 90% of your serotonin, one of your happy hormones, gets created in the gut, not in the brain. Around 70% of your immune system is in the gut. It's absolutely crucial to you managing your life effectively. And when it comes to belly fat loss, when you're feeding your body and your microbiome, so the healthy bacteria in your gut, with what they need, it frees up that energy to go and boost your immune system, to have you working optimally, which in itself is a reduced stressor. So I think when we talk about stress, we're thinking about like the deadlines at work, stressful life situations, grief, divorce, house move, worry about the finances. But everything you eat and drink either has a positive impact on you or a negative impact on you. And when you can think of your gut, I always say think of it as like a little classroom of really nice and naughty children. So the good bacteria, your friendly kids, the nice ones, and your nasty bacteria, the pinchy kids. You don't want to be feeding the pinchy kids because otherwise they're going to start to rule the playground. You want to be feeding the healthy, the nice kids. It'll allow them to multiply. And when your gut health is good, it has such a huge impact just on how you show up every day, your energy levels, your happy hormones, your drive, your enthusiasm for life, and everything else. And I would start with just small steps. Maybe decide, okay, instead of having a biscuit after my lunch, I'm going to have a date. Or I'm going to have half an apple or half a banana, something along those lines. Or if you have a little apple, have a whole apple. Just think about small things that you can change. If you have sugar in your tea or coffee, stop having sugar in your tea and coffee. Your taste buds will soon adjust. And if you decide to join the sugar detox, we're doing for the entire month of January, you will get off that sugar need. Your body will adapt. It's incredible. We'll all be able to go through the sugar detox headache sort of by day 4 or 5. And I think when you're doing it as part of a community, we can all sort of rally each other and help each other through it. It's also going to be really helpful if you want to reduce or cut out your alcohol. Often that sugar need relationship is the desire to have a glass of alcohol as well. And so if you want to come off your booze or restrict that or reduce what you're drinking significantly, I'm actually going to be sharing one of the reduce your alcohol hypnotherapy screeds. I've been a hypnotherapist for over 17 years and it's really effective. The first time I used it on someone, obviously it was a little bit more personalized, that individual, but he turned up drunk for his appointment and I hypnotized him in the office. And then he took a recording of the session away with him, listened to that several times, and he got completely off the booze, went completely teetotal and stayed teetotal. So if you want to focus on your alcohol reduction too, we will be focusing on that. We're going to literally sort of attack it from every angle. And of course, alcohol is not good for your belly fat. If you want to have a slender belly and maybe you've got your spring or your summer holiday booked up and you want to be confident on the beach, then you might want to dive into our sugar detox because it will set you up for success. And once you're in there, if you want to hang on and join our adrenal health group that we're doing in February and then doing gut health in March, and we've got various challenges right the way through until August so far. We're doing non-toxic living, etc. So if you'd like to be part of that, you're more than welcome to stay in and do that. So see how you find it. And if you want to reduce your sugar, you want to reduce your alcohol, you want to do it with a community of people alongside of me, then I would love to welcome you in. The link to join that group is in the description beneath this video. So click it and I'll look forward to getting you access into that group. Another small step you can take is to drink more water. We recommend that you drink 16 fluid ounces of water around sort of half an hour before every meal. It does fill up your tummy a little bit, but it also aids digestion. People always say, oh, but you're diluting your gastric juices. You would need to drink an absolute mass of water to have any negative impact on your gastric juices. I've worked with so many women who followed this system and it works so well. To know how much water you should drink, ideally your body weight, measure that in pounds, divide that by 2, and then the answer is how many fluid ounces of water you want to aim for every day. So for instance, if you weigh 180 pounds, you want to aim for around about 90 fluid ounces of water every day. And that can be quite a tough call, particularly if you're used to the teas and the coffees. You can drink tea and coffee, and once you get into the flow of your water, you're allowed to sort of count the odd cup of coffee as that water content. But if you're the type of person who literally lives on tea and coffee and maybe has half a glass of water throughout the course of the day, I would definitely count your water as an entirely separate section at this stage so that you know that you're drinking enough water, because tea and coffee in small amounts is absolutely fine, but it does make your body more acidic and you need fresh natural water as well. So do focus on drinking more water. You will find it will help detoxify your body. It actually gives you more energy. If you struggle with headaches, often a glass of water helps to get rid of that headache. It's understanding how our bodies work. It's working with our bodies optimally and understanding, yeah, you can have your treats, but there is a payoff. Just know that whatever you choose to eat and drink, it'll either have a positive outcome for you or it does have a negative impact. There are very few neutral foods. Focus on feeding yourself like a human. Be mindful of what your goals are. If you just want to, enjoy life, have some fun, but be in reasonable shape, you can totally do that. But do the things that are going to serve you best. So, try and reduce the cookies, the cakes, the pasta. Be mindful of not eating too many carbs, sort of the carbs that are going to spike your insulin at the end of the day. That includes your pasta. Unfortunately, that's why if you can find the healthy alternatives like the courgettes, like the zoodles, like the spaghetti squash, those are going to serve you so much more than the potatoes, which is terrible because I love potatoes, and the pasta and the rices. If you have rice, if you have pasta, just have a small amount. If you're balancing your macros properly, you just need a tiny amount at the end of the day because you don't need that. You're eating those starchy carbs, or indeed the more sort of sugar producing carbs like the pasta, for energy. That is the purpose it gives our body. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be expending that energy unless you're a shift worker, in which case, technically your dinner, your evening meal is probably the equivalent of your breakfast, in which case, yes, eat those starchy carbs because you need them for energy. But at the end of the day, if you're going to bed shortly after, the only way that energy gets used is it gets stored as fat because you do not need it. So opt for the veggie alternatives like the broccoli, like the cauliflower, like the Brussels sprouts, like the courgettes, or salad. I mean, salad's lovely. The roast tomatoes, roast peppers. There's so much that you can eat. And instead of bread, maybe, if you have like sandwiches at lunch, consider endive leaves or iceberg lettuce or stuff a bell pepper with tuna and mayonnaise and horseradish and cucumber and celery. It's so much of a fit. You could even top it with cheese, but it's such a filling lunch. And I think a lot of us, certainly in my family, we sort of tend to default to sandwiches for lunch. But there are so many healthier alternatives which will actually keep you fuller for longer without that energy drop, half an hour, 15 minutes after you've had it. Implement what I've just shared with you today. You start to track your food and drink. Just do it for a week or two. You don't need to do it forever, but it will show the patterns to you, and you'll be able to link various foods and drinks to your menopausal symptoms, most notably your hot flushes, joint pain, brain fog, lack of energy, falling libido, irritability. So be mindful that whatever goes in here has an impact on how you show up every single day. And belly fat is one of the easiest things to grow. It's also really easy to get rid of when you understand the factors that are causing it. And often it's just our own resistance because we don't want to, I don't want to give up my spaghetti. I don't want to give up my pasta bake. I don't want to give up this or that. That is the sacrifice. That is the trade-off. So when you're armed with that knowledge, you can then make that decision and, ultimately, maybe you have one night a week when it's pizza night, or one night a week when it's pasta night, but the other nights you try and, reduce those starchy carbs at the end of the day. Have you found that by tracking your food and drink that various food groups have a negative impact on your menopause symptoms? If you've not yet done so, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I'd so appreciate that. Let's make 2025, it's got to be a better year than 2024. 2024 has just been vile. I cannot wait for it to just bugger off. So thank you so much for your company, and I really look forward to seeing you again soon.